Marry Right with Joanna. Last week was the premiere, and I talked on a lot of things. I let you in on, I gave you an overview of what Marry Right with Joanna is all about, and everything you should expect, during the show and stuff like that. And today I would like to talk on something very important, and what I would like to tell you is, when as a young girl aspiring to get married, there are certain things you need to do. There are certain things you need to do. One of those things that are very important is for you to work on yourself, go through some personal development. For instance, a wife is supposed to be patient, slow to anger, forgiving and stuff. A wife should have a certain level of self-control. Now, if as a young girl you discover that you are temperamental, like you easily get angry, you have a temper, and you're not very patient, you are intolerant, you don't easily let go, it's hard for you to forgive, now that you're single, now is the time for you to work on, those areas, instead of looking forward to getting married, thinking about marriage, wanting to get married, desiring a husband. Instead of spending your time nursing all those desires, now is a time for you to be working on yourself, and building yourself and developing yourself. For instance, if you are not a very patient person, you have to be working on your level of patience. You have to be working on increasing your level of patience, because you need to be very patient as a wife, not only because you need to be patient with your husband, but even with your kids, right? As a parent, you need to be patient with the children that you would have, because if you are not patient with children, and if you're temperamental, you could one day hit your child so much that they could just end up losing their lives, and you end up regretting, out of anger, because children do a lot of stupid things that could get you really angry, like really upset. So you have to build your patience. You also have to work on your level of self-control as a single lady. There are a lot of those things. Last week I was preparing for my premiere, and I hired some people to help me put everything together, different people, electrician and, carpenter, different skilled workers. They were supposed to help me do these things, put everything together. Some of them, I had contacted them 2 weeks before the program. And until that day that the program was supposed to start, the thing was not ready. Story. You understand? Some 1 week before the date, I had contacted them, paid them. Some of them insisted that I pay everything in full before they would even do the job. I did, yet they were not able to do the job on time. On that Tuesday that the premiere was supposed to take place, some of them were even coming at 4 p.m. Meanwhile, the premiere was supposed to begin at 5 p.m. And you notice I even started very late because of stuff like that, And there's this elderly man that I had contacted to help me do something. I paid him, and he arrived that day at 4:30. In that kind of situation, if you're someone who is temperamental, and you don't have self-control, you can imagine I was so upset. I was so angry. I was feeling so frustrated because, it was almost time and I wasn't ready. Things were not ready. They were just coming anytime, coming late, doing anyhow they wanted to, just that kind of situation. I was feeling very frustrated and so angry. So just imagine if that elderly man had arrived at 4:30, and I was like, the program is starting at 5 and you are coming at 4:30, and maybe out of a lack of self-control, out of anger, and maybe I insulted him or something, or talked to him very rudely. I know some ladies who even raise their hands to a man like that. One day I was going to somewhere, and I noticed a lady she actually slapped the man. Meanwhile, the man was old enough to be her father. And I was like, wow, what could the man have done for her to get so angry that she couldn't control herself? You understand? So As a single lady, you shouldn't be like that, because that man is old enough to be your father. Yeah, maybe you may be telling yourself that I will never marry someone like this. I will never even date a man like this and stuff. But you don't know. Do you know the man's family? Do you know his children? You don't know. You might just fall in love with one of his sons somewhere without knowing that he is the father of the boy, right? And then you'll be dating, you'll be so in love, you'll be so happy, you'll be feeling like, wow, my dream has finally come true. This is my dream man. This is the man I've been dreaming about. This is the man I've always wanted. And you are so happy. You're feeling like, wow, God has finally answered your prayer. And the man will say, honey, let's go and see my parents. Let me go and introduce you to my parents. And you'll be like, wow, my future in-laws. And he will take you to their family home. And when you get there, you discover that that man you slapped is his father. What do you think will happen? Everything will be over, right? So it's always good to be, very careful the way you conduct yourself as a single lady. Don't just desire marriage, but prepare for marriage, right? Prepare for marriage. Spinsterhood is not something any woman likes, right? But while you're anticipating marriage, there are certain things you should be doing, right? I'm sure you know the story of the 10 virgins. While you are waiting for your groom, you are supposed to be preparing to receive your groom. You are not supposed to be waiting for your groom without being prepared, because a groom might come at any time and meet you unprepared and you will lose him, right? So while you're anticipating marriage, while you're waiting for your Mr. Right, you should also be preparing for that Mr. Right. You should be working on yourself. You should be learning things you should learn. You should be unlearning things you don't need. You should be taking lessons from coaches. You should be talking to relationship coach, marriage counselor. Learn those things you need, to be a good wife. Work on yourself. Build yourself, develop yourself, cultivate those qualities that you need, those virtues that you need as a wife. While you're single, that's the time for you to cultivate all those virtues that you need in marriage. So it's very important. I just wanted to share that with you, because I noticed that there are a lot of young girls who are talking about marriage. When they see someone getting married, they are like, oh, God, when? And stuff like that. Yeah, God, when? But what are you doing, while waiting for your turn? What are you doing? Are you ready for marriage? Are you prepared? Or you are just saying, God, when? At times when you say, God, when, God will be like, but you are not ready. You want me to send a man to you and you frustrate the life out of him with your unpreparedness and bad character and stuff like that. So you have to be prepared. You have to be ready for your groom, so that when your groom eventually comes, he's going to meet you prepared, right? So it's very important. And one of those things you need to be doing is working on your patience, your level of tolerance, working on your self-esteem, working on your level of self-control. You have to also cultivate a forgiving spirit, because the man is not a perfect man. You are going to meet an imperfect man striving for perfection, and someone who has his own weaknesses and stuff like that. So you have to be forgiving, from time to time. You have to forgive some of his shortcomings. You have to put up with some of his weaknesses. You have to help him build his capacity. You have to help him cultivate some values that you would like him to have. You have to work together, right? So you have to be ready for that. You have to be prepared, so that when your groom eventually comes, he's going to meet a woman who is prepared, a woman who is ready. He's not going to meet a woman who has so much to work on, right? So it's very important that you take this seriously.